Last week over on my Instagram, I asked you guys to send over questions about working in tech so that I could do a tech career Q&A. Today is that video. I got lots and lots of questions, so thank you for everyone who sent something in. I won't be able to get through all of them today, but I'm going to try to do my best to answer as many questions and give you guys a proper insight into what it's like to work in tech. Before we jump straight into those questions, I would ask you guys to please go subscribe and turn on your notifications if you'd like to see more tech, career and lifestyle content from me. So question number one is, how do I know which tech job I should go into? So I think this is actually such a great question. And I think a lot of people who are looking to get into tech, start their tech career, will have this question because tech is massive. There are so many jobs, non-technical, technical, coding, non-coding. So it can really be difficult to navigate the space. But I would say if you're starting off with your tech career and you're trying to decide where to go, there's kind of two ways for you to decide what you should do. I think the first thing is to think about kind of the things you enjoy, the things you like doing day to day that's not related to kind of jobs or related to tech. And then think about whether or not that fits into a role within the tech industry. It probably does, again, because tech literally touches everything. So for example, if you wanted to go into fashion and tech, you could look at kind of AI and how that helps kind of the retail experience now. So that's one way of thinking about how to kind of pick where to go. And then a second way of picking where to go is just to kind of look at what's in demand, what's going to make you the most amount of money, what's got opportunities and is needing skills from people. And I think then will help you to kind of decide which direction you should go in tech. I have a video on this, which I will put, I think, up here, which you can go watch and look at in more detail how to pick kind of the best tech career for you. So question number two is, what's it like working for Microsoft? So I definitely knew I was going to get this question because over on my Instagram and my TikTok, I get lots of questions and queries from you guys about my experience at Microsoft. And if you're new to the platform, new to my YouTube or my Instagram, then I've been working at Microsoft for 3 years now. And I would say in regards to kind of my experience, I guess I can look at it from a pros and cons perspective to give you guys an idea of what it's like to work here. So I would definitely say the first pro is the brand and reputation. Pretty much everyone, I would say, knows Microsoft, and that's really good for me and my kind of future career trajectory. And because having a good brand on your resume is always going to be good, opens up lots of opportunities. So I think that's pro number one. I would say pro number two is the perks and benefits. Microsoft, like all the other big tech companies, have lots of good kind of benefits within the package. There's opportunity for you to kind of have your gym paid for, there's cycle scheme, there's childcare vouchers for people who have children, and you kind of get to pick a package that works for you. So I definitely think perks and benefits is number two. And number three, I would say definitely culture. I know that culture is obviously quite big within the tech industry, but I think that Microsoft, out of many of the others, does culture really well. There is really a really good laid back culture within the organization, and really good for work-life balance, really good for well-being and mental health as well. So I think that's really one thing that Microsoft has managed to do quite well, is created an environment where people feel comfortable coming to work as they are, and also you feel comfortable working in a way that's suitable for you without kind of having the typical 9 to 5:30 structure or anything like that. So that for me is definitely pro number three. And now over to the other side. One thing that might be considered, I guess, a con for some people is that it's well-known fact that Microsoft doesn't pay to the top percentile in comparison to the other tech companies. So if you're looking to make big bucks within tech, then Microsoft might not be the company that you go for. But it definitely pays really well in comparison to the other industries. But if we're talking about it within kind of the big techies, it's definitely not kind of the highest paying because it has other perks, like I said, like culture, work-life balance and things like that. And I guess another thing that might be considered a con is that because of the laid back culture at Microsoft, you definitely don't have kind of a micromanagey type of environment, which for me is great. But some people might think of it as a con because you're not going to have your hand kind of held all the time. You kind of have to figure out how to work in the best way that's for you. And some people prefer to have more structure. So that might be considered as a con for some people. But overall, I would say I really enjoy working for Microsoft. It's a really great experience. There are lots and lots of benefits, and anything that's kind of niggly, it definitely does not outweigh the good stuff. And yeah, I've had a really good experience so far. Question number 3 is, how do you balance your job, the platform, and your personal life? Oh, this is another really good question. I'll be honest with you guys, this is actually really tough. Working full time, doing my platform, and then kind of my personal life, especially as I've recently got engaged. If you didn't know, now you know. So I'm planning a wedding, and then obviously going to be looking for property, etc. And I can talk more about that if you guys would be interested in knowing a little bit about that journey. Please let me know. But in regards to kind of balancing all three, it's really all about kind of being productive and making sure that you are organized with your time and knowing what to prioritize. So for example, for me, throughout the week, I try and prioritize obviously my job, the thing that brings me the most amount of money, and my career, and obviously try and focus on that during my working hours and try and get all of that done. But then after work, the second thing that comes that's important for me is my Instagram and my TikTok. So creating content for that. And I don't actually batch content, which again is a whole other thing that I can talk about. But I try and create content throughout the week, find things that I'm inspired by, and then also work with my clients one-to-one, which I'm really enjoying. And then that is just my focus throughout the week. I never focus on anything else but those two. And then of course I slot in kind of my personal life, make sure that I see my fiance, see my friends, speak to my family, etc. And then over the weekend, that's where I focus on YouTube, where I do kind of my filming, my editing, and everything that comes with YouTube. I would definitely say this is really tough. Like, it's taking up a lot of my time. YouTube is hard, the platform is hard, but I know that there are lots of benefits. So for me, again, it's just about being organized and prioritizing. That's a hard word. And prioritizing the things that are going to be important in that time. I have a very long to-do list. I am a to-do girl. I am a girl that writes everything down, ticks it off once it's finished, and I can also go through kind of my process. I have a planner. I have kind of everything set in stone to know exactly what I need to be doing, what I need to be focused, and I have a number of calendars. I could choose scheduling. I have things on Word that helps me as well. So I just really try to use as many tools as possible to make my life easier. I have loads of reminders on my phone to remind me that I've got things to be doing as well. But it's a lot at the moment, especially now on top with the wedding. But like I said, I kind of try to be organized and kind of make sure that I'm productive as well with my time. But I'm also getting a wedding planner, which makes my life so much easier. But yeah, it's difficult, but it can definitely be done if you know exactly kind of what you're trying to achieve and you kind of just focus on that. Okay, question number 4 is, I'm 38 years old. Am I too old to start programming? Interesting question. And I do get a lot of questions around kind of ageism in tech, whether or not people are too old to start their journey and things like that. And I would definitely say you are not too old to do anything, let alone start programming. I completely understand that learning is much easier when you're younger. Trust me, I definitely understand that. And when you're younger, you naturally just take in more information much faster. But when you're older, it starts to get a little bit harder. But I would say that no one is too old to start programming, because at the end of the day, if you are passionate and you want to achieve this, you will definitely be able to do it. I would say just put in the time and the effort that's required to go into programming. Do things like understanding your learning style, which is really important when it comes to learning something new. Are you a visual person? Are you an auditory person? Do you like to write things down and practice? and kind of start understanding what learning and how learning should be for you, and then that will help with your transition into tech and learning programming when you are a little bit older. But trust me, you are not too old to do anything. People have transitioned into the tech industry at much later ages, and firstly, let me just go back and say 38 is not too old at all, please. But just in general, you are definitely not too old for specifically programming at all. I would say just focus on your interest in it and you should be okay. Use all the free learning resources that there are out there and get it. If you have an ambition for something, you should definitely not let age stop you. I mean, Vera Wang became a millionaire at the age of 40. And so if you are 38, you have 2 years to get on your programming life, and who knows, 2 years you might also be a programmer, you may also be a millionaire. So yeah, definitely not too old. Number 5 is, how has your experience been as a Black woman in tech? Oh, these questions are so great, guys. I'm honestly loving them. But my experience as a Black woman in tech, I have spoken about this in another video, that definitely we talk about all the benefits of working in tech, but your experience when you are a Black woman and specifically within the tech industry will definitely be different to that of other people, and that's simply because there is a lack of diversity and inclusion within the tech industry as well. So for me, my experience so far has definitely been up and down. I won't say that, you know, I've had the best experience ever and I haven't dealt with anything kind of negative, because that would not be true. But I would say the negatives have definitely been kind of imposter syndrome, a little bit of kind of loneliness because you feel like, oh, you're the only person that ever looks like you in any room, and you can't relate to people in that sense as well. So that's been difficult, and I've obviously had to deal with kind of like microaggressions and stuff, and even especially to add on to the fact that I'm relatively quite young for someone in my role, and so that's been a whole load of things that I've had to deal with. But I would say in general it's been quite positive. Even though I've had to deal with those things, it has been quite positive. I've learned a lot in this space. I've been given loads of opportunities, and I really haven't had anything to deal with anything that's like outright like absolutely unacceptable or anything like that. But that's obviously probably due to the fact of the company that I'm working at. Again, I spoke about the culture before, and I know that other Black women in tech have had much worse experiences, which I absolutely just find really difficult to hear about. But for me, generally, it's been okay, because I found my allies within kind of my space, within the tech space, the boards that I work with, the employee resource groups that I engage with. So that's been fantastic. I've had a really supportive group of people around me. My fiance is in tech, my sister is in tech as well, so they obviously understand my experience. So that's been really good. I would say when you hear kind of the negative that come in you know, the tech industry for Black women and our experiences, be wary of them and be cautious of them, but don't let them put you off from coming into the industry, because for me there's a lot of work to be done, but the perks and the benefits that come with a career within this industry are great, and I think all Black women should get the opportunity to also experience that. 6, we have, what's the best advice for someone starting in tech? Ooh, I get this question every day on Instagram, every day on TikTok, on Twitter, everywhere I go. I get this question, and I completely understand why I get it, because it can be really tough getting started with tech. But I would say the place for you to get started, and my advice would be to focus on skilling. The tech industry is all about skills. It is great to have kind of tech experience if you're lucky enough to have it, but if you don't and you're just starting off, my advice would definitely be for you to start skilling up. Pick an area of tech, whether it's cloud computing, programming, data science. All those areas are much in demand and we need people, and then start really skilling up, getting the right skills, learning the right programming languages, learning the right tools, etc. And there's so much information and so much support online for you to get started. But yeah, that would be my number one advice. Focus My other advice for people who are starting off in tech would be to build a network of people. So start networking with people within the tech industry, start engaging with people just online with the tech community on Twitter, on Instagram, Discord, TikTok, wherever you are. Start speaking to people, start going to study groups. There is a lot of community for the tech industry, for sure, definitely. And number 3, try and find a mentor if you can to support you on your tech journey. Someone who has already been in the industry, doesn't have to be in the industry now, but maybe was in the past, who can support you and give you advice on kind of like which way to navigate, which skills you should go into for the role that you're looking for. Number 7, we have what are the best online learning resources for tech? Ooh, I could do an entire video on this. Well, I should do an entire video on this, and I will. But for me, there are a few really good learning resources out there when it comes to tech. And a lot of these you can get either completely free, like videos, or some of them are paid and very cheap as well. So number 1 is YouTube. YouTube, oh my God, there are so many good YouTubers online who are literally providing content absolutely free, from programming tutorials all the way to kind of cloud computing knowledge. You can find a YouTuber online to support your learning. So that would be 1. Number 2, I would say the tech company's website, which is something that a lot of people miss. So companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Salesforce will more than likely have kind of a learning training page for completely free for people to use. So if you're interested in a specific tech company and then their knowledge, go on their website or just type in Google training, Microsoft training into online, and you'll definitely find something, and that is more than likely going to be completely free. And then number 3, I would say, is the other kind of ones that we know. So the Udemy, the Coursera, edX. I know that Harvard University also has some free videos as well. So all of those are really, really good learning resources that you can get started with today. Question number 8 is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh girl, I see myself retired, living on an island somewhere. No, I'm joking, I wish. In 5 years, I don't know. I get this question a lot, and I think the difficulty of knowing where you want to be when you work in the tech industry is that the job that you could be in 5 years is more than likely not here yet. It's not invented, it doesn't exist. Because technology moves so quickly, we actually don't know where we're going to be. Cloud computing is going to grow massively, there's going to be new tools, new projects, everything is going to be completely new. So I don't know where I see myself in regards to a job, but in regards to a lifestyle, I would say in 5 years, I want to be making a heck of a lot more money, like a lot more than I am now. I want to have owned at least 2 properties within hopefully London or the UK in general. I want to have traveled a lot more, hopefully worked abroad. I'm really interested in working abroad. So in the next 5 years, hopefully I get to move somewhere, New York, Australia, Paris, those kind of places. Obviously in the next 5 years, I'll hopefully already gone through my wedding and everything will be fine. But yeah, I just see myself having more in life, and of course, hoping and continuing to work on this platform, growing it, building a continuous community for you guys. Hopefully I'll be doing more stuff face-to-face, meetups, coffee chats, women in tech brunches, all of that good stuff. So I'm just hoping that a lot has grown, and I'm just hoping for an abundance of goodness and positivity in my life. Question number 9 is, will there eventually be too many software engineers? Will there be a saturation of software engineers essentially? Again, I've seen this question popping up in kind of the tech community chats about whether or not there's too many people becoming software engineers. And for me, the answer is that at the moment we have a massive skill shortage for tech and programming skills. So in a number of countries across the world, they are now starting to teach programming to children as young as like 7 in some countries, because of that massive skills gap. So for me, at least in the next 10 to 20 years, there definitely won't be too many software engineers. I think there's a lot of work to do. I think we see a lot of people learning to code and learning to program, especially due to the pandemic, but learning to code, learning to program does not translate to becoming a software engineer, because kind of the there's a huge demand, but kind of getting into software engineering roles and tech companies and interviews are generally quite difficult. So that's where there's kind of a bit of a gap, which I also talk a lot about on my Instagram, because I think there needs to be a change to that. But no, I don't think that anytime soon we will have a problem of having too many software engineers. I think we need them, especially as the internet grows and general technology grows. There'll be more of a need, and then we're trying to get people in where to fill that massive gap. What I will say though, that if there is a point where it becomes kind of saturated, there are too many people kind of with these skills, the great thing is that anyone who is a software engineer will be able to kind of use their skills and upskill into something else. They can become something else. They become a data scientist, they become whatever the kind of the tech industry is going to need. So I wouldn't worry about kind of starting off your software engineering thinking that in 10 years you're not going to have a job or you're not going to be able to get in, because having those skills are so necessary to the tech industry outside of kind of the software engineering box. And finally, question number 10 is, how do you get a job in tech when you don't have any experience? Great question, because this will be the experience of a lot of people who are starting off their journey. But I would say if you have 100% no experience in tech, then your focus needs to be, like I said, on skilling, and then on top of that, projects. The great thing about the tech industry is that many employers will recognize kind of personal projects as experience in the non-traditional way, so having something to put on your resume. So if you're learning a new tech skill, make sure that you're applying it with a personal project. So for example, you could build an application, you can build a website, you can provision some virtual machines on kind of the cloud computing portals online. You can get your certifications and ensure that with those certifications you do something kind of at home for yourself, or you find kind of project online that other people are doing. So some people, I get messages from people like, oh, I'm building an app, would you like to kind of be involved in that? So try and find that within the community, because that again is seen as experience that you can have on your resume. So if you don't have any experience, I can definitely give you the tips of kind of networking, speaking to people, doing all of that good stuff, having your LinkedIn clean, all of that good stuff. But what I would definitely say is that the bigger focus needs to be on projects. Like, just get anything on your resume that you can talk about during your application, that recruitment consultants can see and be like, oh yeah, they've actually done something. Because at the end of the day, okay, so you may not have any traditional experience if you want to be a software engineer, but if you've spent the last year building an application by yourself, that is amazing and definitely something that you should have to your resume. So just remember, projects, projects, projects. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for everyone who sent in questions. I hope you guys found that useful. You enjoyed kind of hearing my answers to these commonly asked questions that I get a lot kind of on my Instagram. I'm going to try and do more of these both on my Instagram and on here, so feel free to kind of drop the type of questions you would like for me to answer in the question box below, or the comment box below, and go like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I'll see you at my next video. Bye.